And you have a reputation and a long track record of successfully integrating strategic human capital into your corporate strategy.
Right.
And one of the conversations that we've had in the past is about your integrated leadership approach to acquisitions, right? Where you have a multifunctional team that starts even at the very beginning before an acquisition is identified. You have not just HR, but you have a multifunctional team that actually helps develop the criteria for acquisitions, assuming, and you've done, I think it's
28
of
on my
which you've had 2 that you would redo a different way, but everything else has been successful. I mean, that's just an amazing track record. So can you talk a little bit about that team and also maybe some of your lessons learned from the acquisitions?
Sure. Well, and when you've done 28, you've had the opportunity to learn a lot of lessons, right?
Because you've tested, you've proven the model numerous times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. One of the things that we do in our business is, a part of your strategy is, well, will you need to acquire or occasionally even divest businesses to execute that strategy? Now, sometimes it's also opportunistic, right? Something comes along that's a good deal, and so you take advantage of that. And so the model that we've put in place is just as you've said. Instead of just like the finance and the M&A people and the strategy people getting together and saying, well, hey, we're going to go do this. We involve, legal, different facets of HR. We involve the organization that it's going to be acquired into, and have an integrated team that says, okay, if this is a potential target of opportunity, and we start early on, I mean, before the formal due diligence, each person on that integrated team, you're investigating from your perspective. And so, in the case of human resources, we're interested in things like, obviously, how many employees do they have? Where are they? Are they unionized or non-unionized? Do they have pension plans or they don't have pension plans? And you start looking at, so what are we going to get here?
Contracts.
But the most important thing that comes from that is a conversation with the line leaders of the organizations who will be integrating that, which is like some fundamental questions. Why are we getting this? What is it? How? To what degree are you going to integrate them? Some things you buy because it's a particular technology, and we call it more of a bolt-on kind of integration. That's integration light. But others are no. This is going to be fully integrated into the business, and so that's then a more robust set of questions that we have to start looking at. And so we're there with the finance people, with the technology people. There's HR people, combing through what's available publicly. When you get into formal due diligence, then we're going through every artifact we can find, because assuming that it makes good business sense or technological sense, which why would you do it otherwise? Everybody's heard this axiom. When acquisitions fail, it's usually a failure of integration. Not was it a good or bad idea, because we try not to do bad ideas on purpose, right? So they usually fail because you didn't take into account how you were going to integrate and where there were differences in culture. Because it doesn't have to be that your cultures are perfectly aligned or you can't integrate.
Exactly.
You just have to know what the differences are, and what are you going to do with those differences? How are you going to either blend them, or sometimes how are you going to change them? So looking at things like, one of my favorite things to look at is what's their incentive comp plan?
Yes, I love that. We had that conversation once where you said if you could only look at one corporate artifact to define the corporation's culture, what would it be? And I'm 100% in your camp. It's the comp plan. You get the behavior, you get what you reward. So look at what they're rewarding, because that's going to define the culture.
Well, and I would add one more way of saying it. Here's what they might say about their culture. But here's what they're paying for. You know what I mean? And so if you look at what they're paying for, that tells you what their real priorities are, and because people aren't dumb. They're like, yeah, you're saying this, but you're paying me for that. So
Exactly.
they'll usually do that.
Exactly right.
And so that's, but it's just indicative of the approach, because it, like I said, it doesn't mean that if your cultures don't start out aligned that that's a bad deal. It's just know what you're doing, know what you're getting into. And then the other thing about the integrated approach is it doesn't stop when we've signed the paper, because we assign, there's an integration manager, just like our company is largely made up of projects and programs. So we have a lot of project and program managers. It's a key skill for us. Well, somebody is appointed the program manager of integrating that business. And again, they have HR and finance and systems people and you know, really all of the functions basically represented, working back and forth with the acquired business and the business into which we are integrating it, and we've been at it enough that we actually have a playbook that says, hey, these are the things you got to look at. You don't have to do all of them, but you have to consider them and make a conscious choice. Are you doing that or not? And so, like I said, through a lot of experience, you know, we think we've kind of figured out what works and what doesn't.
And that's great. So you start the integration actually even before you've identified the acquisition, and you carry it straight through to the full integration. What that program manager is in place 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, depending on
least,
the
depending on the
complexity
size.
of it, because you know, part of it is you kind of have closure criteria. You know, when is that work formally done? Integrations actually go, you know, it takes a long time for cultures to blend and stuff. But the, you know, kind of the formal part of, you know, we are executing a particular integration plan, you know, there's actually a end criteria. When X is done, the formal part of this is finished, and then it's more the day-to-day job of continuing to manage your culture.